So I have bought another game book today to add to this wall. And um, Not specifically talking about that book, not talking about old school essentials or whatever, but I have been fascinated recently with just the overall concept, the gestalt of the OSR, the old school Renaissance movement, which is all over the place in um, sort of role playing discussion and YouTube and so on. And it's sort of, I mean, I'm an old guy, so right, so I hear old school and immediately my ears perk up and I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? Now the funny thing is, I actually don't particularly dig any of the games. Um, I bought a few. I have a bunch of PDFs. Old school essentials, fantastic heroes and witchery. There's stars without number. I picked up Adventure Conquer King system, and and I don't necessarily love any of those rules enough to run them. Strangely enough, like I don't know that I'm going to run any of those systems forever, ever at my gaming table. It's not because they're necessarily bad, but a lot of them are very they 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 tack very close to either basic D&D, old school essentials, or in Fantastic Heroes and Witchery's case, OSRIC. They tack very close to first edition advanced D&D, and I haven't played those games in years. I haven't played basic since I was 8, effectively. I mean, I immediately, as soon as we bought basic, the player's handbook for advanced D&D came out, and we were on that like nothing. Um, so I don't know that I'll run any of the games, which is sort of weird. I'm not going to run the games, but I love the idea, and I think why is that each one of these has something in it that is a little different and maybe a little special. Like I love Stars Without Numbers. There's the faction system and the world tags. That's great stuff. At its core, it's a basic D&D heart, but there's neat stuff in there. The ability to take a crisis instead of a hit on your ship, again, awesome. Fantastic Heroes and Witchery has lots of sort of neat ideas, and it's in a neat melding of modern D&D ideas with sort of old school first edition. I'm never going to run Adventure Conquer King, but I can guarantee you I'm reading through those domain rules for my upcoming game. I just literally bought this book, this RPG Pundit Old School Companion. I don't even own his game. I'm buying this book to read through some of the information he has on spell books and grimoires and astrology um, and domain play. Um, and and so I suppose what interests me is, and why I'm just talking, and this is a short one, is what is that draw aside from being old? I mean, duh, aside from nostalgia, right? Because the funny part is I'm not even nostalgia for I am nostalgic for the old days, quote unquote, but I'm certainly not nostalgic for basic D&D, and I'm certainly not nostalgic for first edition. I really actually don't care, and a lot of the claims of all these games where, oh, well, it's so sexy because it's so deadly. It's like, first off, it's not deadly past a certain point. It's deadly because you have 3 hit points at the start. Um, and that's great, but it's nothing about any specific one of these sets which gets me. I think what appeals to me in a lot of ways, um, and it's not even the principles. It's not even rulings over rules and player skill over character skill. I almost don't care in some cases. I think rulings over rules is great, but when used properly, but understand that rulings become rules at the table 9 times out of 10. Like if a guy throws dirt in your eyes once and it works, he's throwing dirt in everybody's eyes. I have players that, they'll do that, and then that's on the GM then to rule, to give rulings all the time. So at that point, it's as bad as a dungeon world, right? Kind of thing. Now, um, player skill over character skill, sort of sometimes. Again, it's it's I think those sound good and those are great principles to have. It's just in practice, sometimes I feel they're going to fall short. So, the player skill thing becomes, oh yeah, we tap the ceiling, we tap the floor, we right all that, and that rote set of orders that players might give once the novelty of that wears off. Or the real player skill is whatever you can convince the GM the BS is. So now I've spent 3 minutes just dissing OSR when I'm telling you that I actually sort of love it. But what I'm sort of getting to is, I don't think it's any particular tenant or it's any particular rule or rule set or whatever. I think what I sort of love about it is, like I said, each one of these games has a couple gems, and it feels like you're reading someone's homebrew. And I'm sure a lot of them might be someone's homebrew. And I love that, because it seems to me that over the years, from third edition, not fourth D&D, third edition, which I almost never played. I played a little bit of Pathfinder. One campaign in third edition, I think. And a short one. It didn't last more than a few weeks. Fourth edition, we mostly skipped. Fifth edition, we played once or twice. But I think especially with fifth edition, and especially this last 5 years, I think that the hobby has become very dependent on packaged experiences, right? So you got Critical Role. Now they're great. I don't particularly watch them because I find watching other people's D&D games boring. But everyone tells me they're great. No, but they're great. But again, it's a packaged experience, right? It is entertainment. It is, hey, let's get all these people that are, cooler, smarter, prettier, more awesome than you, and package you up some entertainment. It is the Hollywoodization of tabletop role-playing games. And again, they're successful and people enjoy it. I'm not gonna. I'm old man yelling at clouds right now, but it's that. It's this packaged experience thing, right? I mean, there you go. The D&D homepage is, hey, we're hawking our movie with D&D. See how all this stuff comes together into a packaged experience for you to consume passively. And even the adventure like the modules now, whereas you used to get, right, these haphazardly tossed together, not haphazardly tossed together, but these modules that then you sort of had to string together into some play experience. Now the modules just, here's a book. It'll take you from level 1 to 20 in about 6 months. Just, you're done. Follow this. And again, it's a packaged experience, and a lot of stuff's packaged. That is not to say there's not homebrew for 5th edition. Of course there is. But I don't know that that's the default anymore. And I feel that when I started, the default was you and me and these guys around this table, and the whole game largely came down to half of it was us making it up as we went along, or writing new classes. We had, a weird wizard priest class and barbarians, and we had, the acrobat, not the thief acrobat, but a different. Like, we put all that together. We hacked together our own mapped combat system in D&D to utilize all those sexy and god awful sexy, but god awful weapon factor rules and speed rules. And we were playing homebrew. And now, we're watching people tell us how to build our characters and what spells to take, and how to be a great GM if you follow these 5 steps. And it's not like, again, any of that didn't exist. What's the difference between MCDM telling us how to be a great GM and Gygax rambling in a note section in Dragon Magazine? And the answer is probably nothing. Hell, Gygax would have bitched me out at some point, because there was a point at which he wrote the article saying, hey, if you're not playing this book, you're not playing D&D anymore. And to that I say, no, we probably weren't. But I just think, like I said, there's a different intent there. I think when I look at when I look at this stuff, it feels a little warmer to me. It feels like I'm not being presented to as much as I am being, allowed in to the table, kind of thing. And I think that's what I love about OSR. The spirit of OSR is effectively a homebrew spirit. A lot of these games, like Old School Essentials, effectively are begging you to come in and add your own stuff as you go. They're begging the GM, they're begging the players. You know what? Add a class. It's easy, because look, here's a class. It's on one page. You can write a page. You can make your own class. And, and if it's not perfectly balanced, that's okay. We'll figure that out as we go. I appreciate that. I think that is what tabletop role-playing games used to be about. I think a little bit more was it required something of you, which was that little creative bit. And I'm not saying that, tabletop role players used to be so creative and now they're not. I don't think that at all. But I think the games and the presentations drew that out of you more. And I think now it is, I think by designed for you to consume their stuff as passively as possible, please, because if you deviate too much, you won't be able to get it on D&D Beyond. Right, that kind of thing. I think it is engineered. How's that? There you go. It is engineered and packaged entertainment now. I think these games aren't, and I think these games sort of want you to participate. And that's it. That's sort of my take on the spirit of the OSR and sort of where I'm at with it. So we're starting a new game. It's a fantasy game. It is a homebrew game. But I will definitely be reading this to help me run the overall domain aspects of that, as well as Adventure Conquer King. It's up there somewhere, by the way. And heck, maybe Stars Without Number gets thrown in there, because the faction turns are pretty cool. So that's it. Hopefully we'll be talking about the game in more detail here as the days and weeks go by. Thank you very much for listening to An Old Man Ran at the Clouds, and I will talk to you later.